Welcome to virtual class.
All right, so I'm just going to go through a couple of ways to add or subtract fractions that end up greater than 1 or perhaps they start greater than 1. So here's a quick example using subtraction. How you can deal with this. By the way, I ran into these all the time. These are very practical math situation where I'm working on my basement and I need a piece of wood and I need to cut it to a certain length and you've got 2¼ inches and then I need another section that's 1 3/5. So this is an incredibly practical skill. So there are a couple ways to do this. Number one, because I've got them currently in the format that are called mixed fractions. So you've got whole numbers and fractions together, right? So I could undo the mixed fraction. So that's one way to do it. So I could undo the mixed fractions and turn them into improper fractions. So I'm just going to show that here where I've got 2 1/4. Well, I would end up going, okay, well, if I've got I've got four, that's one whole, and then I add another four. I'm chopping my granola bars into fourths, if you want to think of it that way. So if you've got granola bars, you got like one, and it's chopped into 4 equal pieces, and then you've got another, and it's chopped into 4 equal pieces, and then you've got this leftover, this 1/4 still there. So I've now got plus 1/4. So that's just focusing on this first fraction. And so out of the possible, I've only got the 1/4, even though there's like ghost quarters, if you want to think of it like that, that would exist if I had the rest of that. So I put all of those pieces together, I'd add them all up, and I end up with 9/4. So 4 and 4 and 1 is 9. So if I'm turning this into a mixed fraction, into an improper fraction, I do 9/4 for this first one. I can do the second for the next, and I just think to myself, okay, 5/5 to make the one, add that to the three. So I would end up with 8, 8/5. All right. Now we're into that scenario which we saw on Math Antics where you've got unlike denominators, so we need to make them into like denominators. Fastest way, of course, is to multiply them together. So you end up with, and I like the way they showed it in the video, where they multiply by 5/5 on the one side, and on the other side, they do multiply by 4/4, just to make those two sides into proper, into common denominators. So 5 times 9 is 45. On the bottom, we got 20. I'm running out of space, sorry. And on the other side, I got 5. 5 fours is 24. And correct me if I'm wrong. And 5 is 20. We got our denominators are now 20, and we have the numerators calculated out. So it simply becomes 45 minus 24. Okay, well, the 4 away leaves 1, and then the 2 away from that leaves 2 left, and on the other side, I've got 21/20 would be my result. And then I would probably wanna turn that back into a mixed fraction at the end. So I pull out that 20, leaving me with just 1/20. Is that what you got? Think so. Alright, so that's one of the ways to deal with this. You undo the mixed fraction, turn them into, improper fraction. So that's one method. Now, the other method that I like to do is I don't even really concern myself too much with these. If this were the second method actually works better with adding than it does with subtracting. So I find with subtracting, I tend to lean towards turning it into an improper fraction, and then subtracting. However, you'll find the other way might work better with addition. So I'm going to flip this over. We'll do an addition one. Now, here is literally, I had to do this one to cut 2 by 4. So we got 6 3/4 plus 2 5/7. A little bit odd to be doing sevenths. Usually it's eighths, but I didn't want to do two. So I can add these together. And because I'm adding these together, that second way that I'm about to show you kind of makes more sense to me. And that is I am just adding them, so I don't need to worry about anything too much about these whole numbers. So I'm just going to deal with the whole numbers on their own. to go back to our granola bar analogy, you wouldn't chop up a bunch of granola bars only to put them back together again if you didn't have to. So in this case, I have a 6 whole number and a 2 whole number. I'm going to put those, and I'm adding them together. I'm going to put those together, and that's just 8. So I'm just going to worry about the whole numbers for the beginning. And because it's adding, I don't need to worry about it taking chunks out of a whole number later. You can do that, but don't worry about it now. Then I only worry about the fraction part, which I'm going to rewrite just a little bit below. 3/4 plus 5/7. Now I need to find that common denominator. And in this case, I think the easiest one is probably the best one. So let me just pull it out. Oh, did I close the thing? Close the thing. All right, one second. So anyway, so I'm just gonna make sure that I'm probably the easiest one. I think the lowest common multiple is them together. So that's gonna be 28. So I need to turn both of these into 28s on the bottom. All right. All right. So what did I do to the 4 to turn into? I turned times it by 7 over 7. And on this side, I times it by 4 over 4. And as we mentioned in the last thing, it was because it's 7 over 7 is just 1, and timesing something by 1 doesn't change its value. We're allowed to do this. So then that means across the top, I go 7 times 3 is going to be 21, and 4 times 5 is going to be 20. Now I have kind of my new uh, fraction question right here. It's starting to look a little bit familiar. Yeah, we got that 21. So now I just add them across the top, bringing us up to 41 over 28. And remember, once we've got those common denominators, you do not add them. Once they are common, you don't add them, right? So that just stays as a 28, as per that video we watched. So 21 over 28, and then I would turn that back into a what I'm looking for, a mixed fraction just by subtracting 28 from the top. So I would 28 over 28. I pull 28 over 28 out of it. And I pull that 28 over 28 out, giving me the 1. And that would leave me with 13 over 28. And if I could reduce that down, I would. But in this case, I can't because that's prime. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. And you can kind of see there are two ways to approach this. Okay, so you can unmix your fractions, turn them into improper fractions, or you can deal with the whole numbers and then the fractions separately. Now, once I've got this, I have to remember something. I almost messed up. Because we're adding it, we have to put it back in with our 8 at the top with those whole numbers. So I would then add that together, which is super easy. So my answer would be 9 and 13/28. Good luck cutting that with 2x4s, but you get the idea. Okay? I hope that helps. And if you have any questions, hit me up in either chat or on Google Classroom, and I will see you soon.